in the spirit of word nerdiness, I have found, and I'm curious to see what all of you think in terms of your own experience, but I found in my experience in life and in work that lots of words get used interchangeably, right? And we kind of trust and faith, they're the same thing, right? Well, not really. Not as far as like the actual, if you spend some time in the dictionary going down to the etymology of the root of those words, they're actually quite different in terms of their original definitions and how they were defined. Lots of words are like that in many languages, particularly English. The ones that have attracted my attention are guilt and shame. Right? People often use those words very interchangeably, right? Kind of like again, just speaking for myself, people use like blame and responsibility very interchangeably, right? Like they're the same things. But if we even accept the possibility of us being like more energetic beings, in other words, emotions are energy in motion, right? Human beings are walking centers of energy that's constantly moving. And that's sort of been scientifically proven as well, too. It's not such a super out there idea, as opposed to being like really rationally driven, intellectually driven thinking creatures. We do that too. But again, it's sort of connected to the idea of how true does it feel when I say, well, people do what they feel, not so much what they think, right? More so we do what we feel in terms of like how we feel inside is what I mean. But the essence of our energy and the way we express it really has a lot to do with how we feel energetically and emotionally inside. This idea of using words interchangeably then starts to become kind of tricky when we're assessing the idea of how much awareness have I got? How much choice am I allowed to give myself permission for? And it comes together in a very potent way in the words guilt and shame, because really they're different energies. And sort of really simply, just as a working hypothesis, consider the possibility that, okay, so guilt is the energy that we feel, the emotion that we feel when we feel like we've done something or someone tells us that we've done something bad or wrong. Like they've judged or we've judged our outward action as bad or wrong. That's a feeling that I would challenge you to just think about as guilt. If that doesn't make sense, just hold open some suspension of disbelief and go, okay, well, yeah, we can talk about it like that. Sure. I don't necessarily think that, but why not? So guilt is the energy that occurs when we've done something bad or wrong. We've judged it as that. It's an actual action or even a thought, or someone has told us that the action or thought that we've had is bad or wrong, or even the feeling that we've had is bad or wrong. Okay. Shame is a much more potent and, dare I say, deadly kind of energy, because shame says, oh, I'm wrong. I'm in my very essence, existence, and being, I am wrong. So it's not you've done something wrong. It's that you are wrong. You're wrong for your thinking. You're wrong for your actions. You're wrong for your energy. In fact, you're wrong for just existing. Right? And everything that you think and want to be is just inherently wrong. If any of that sounds compelling, it is, even for possibility of exploration of thought, pretty important to know the difference between those two energies, because what people end up often getting into unconscious agreement with is the idea that if you are guilty, you also should automatically be ashamed. If you've done something that you've judged or someone else has judged as a wrong action, that means automatically that not only was your action wrong fundamentally, but you are wrong, period.
So the difference being, I knocked over Dana's drink. I feel guilty because I know he was really thirsty, and that was the last whatever it is. Shame is, I feel guilty because I knocked over his drink. I'm such an idiot. I always knock over his drinks. I always do everything wrong. I don't know why he's with me. I just seem to screw everything up for everybody. We can slide into shame from guilt really, really easily when it's programmed in.
Resentment's a really funny energy too, only in the reality that we're not taught how to utilize it, right? And that's kind of connected to the whole shame dynamic, because shame is a tool and an energy that people use to control others by keeping them disconnected from their self-worth. A person really powerfully connected in feelings and experiences of their self-worth is hard to control, really hard to control. And resentment is one of those things too, that if we're not taught how to value its information, we don't realize that it's actually a pretty easy trap to unhook yourself from. Right? And resentment really occurs, like I was talking about in sort of, early in the example, like, okay, it's a message that's being resent to me over and over again in probably small ways, sometimes big ways, but certainly small ways. And they're recent, they're happening in real time as I'm in the environment, right? That make me feel like my self-worth in that environment has no value. It's under violation. The thing that's kind of crazy about that connects to the idea that the energy of resentment brings forward is I am now going into agreement with people who are telling me that something that I need, I can only get from them, and they're not giving it to me, right? And the illusion of that is, oh, usually those are things that you can give to yourself. And really fundamentally, it's like, well, I'm feeling resentful because I'm not feeling loved because these people aren't giving me love. It's also an indicator somewhere that we're not loving ourselves. Right. And that translates into the idea that we talked about before, that, oh, well, me feeling like my self-worth is being violated isn't only dependent upon the actions of others that I can stop. If I remember that there's actions that I can take to either remove myself, disconnect myself, extract myself from any engagement or environment that leaves me feeling like I'm starting to slide into resentment. Right? And that comes down to like sort of the really simple equation of, oh, well, I can stand here and experience these crummy feelings of these people not loving me, or I can take action on my own that reminds me, shows me, proves to me, demonstrates to me, and makes me feel like I am loving myself. I don't have to wait for people to give me something that I can give myself. That doesn't take away the enjoyment and the necessity of feeling loved by others. Of course, we want that too. It's not an ego thing that says, oh, fine, I'll love myself then. It's the recognition that we have the power to give ourselves the thing that we might not be feeling like we're getting in any environment, and then therefore receive the information of resentment in a way that we can use proactively, as opposed to staying there and sliding further and further and further and further into agreement with all the crummy things that make me feel like I'm not worthy of getting what I'm asking for or what I need, like love, in the first place.